590.
What about this?
You see, this is what sale brought in the other day.
So we don't want to include that here. So this is what he needs, right?
So I added those three, that one, and that.
9, 10, 5, 4, 9,
See,
900.
I either went over or under.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to because I heard him.
I wondered if,
I wonder if that's.
if these two, if this, the 33 and 82.
Today.
216, 248.
We appropriated that last time. $400,000. We appropriated that last time.
I don't know. But anyway, we're gonna get some bonus money, but I'm
See,
not gonna say that today
$700.
because they don't want $500,000 of it.
And that was to purchase Bedford for the county highway. So that's his purchase. Right? So that was appropriated. It's 178
No,
Okay. You gotta go.
has been appropriated.
well, they had it on there.
So 578. We'll ask them.
Okay.
So he needs another 178, 400,000 been appropriated already. For that, on the equipment.
Well, we did that 600,000. But I don't think commissioners team voted on that yet. It's additional, yeah, so. He's gonna break us.
I didn't, it looks like we could do an experimental road or something. Get a section or something. I mean, that's never.
Yeah, but says they need more help to do that. So I think we're gonna talk about that in August, budget hearings.
But he wants to start this project like this.
Again, too, I don't think commissioners,
They haven't okayed it
they
yet.
haven't okayed it yet either.
That kind of is coming down to us.
Yeah.
Here it comes. All the way to radio. How are we doing over here, Joe? Front. Billy, what are you hearing from, you know that report that Purdue guy gave, that Congress gave back about December, January?
Yeah,
talking
about-
after this COVID year.
Yes, that in 2 or 3 years, we're gonna see the effect of it on our money being.
Have we heard any more about that? Have you seen anything that's coming down the line? There's a meeting, there's a virtual meeting. Do you see that in your text?
Yeah, County Council Association, yeah, it's next Monday,
When do we go
17th,
for that lunch deal? Is that next week?
the 18th, yeah, 18th, yes.
You signed me
She's
up.
got, I know, you two and you
I
going,
can't.
okay,
You three are.
I think it's just the three. Okay. I'll do that,
Kelly's the only one responding. So I can get
okay,
those three.
okay. They've never been to any, so I doubt if they have, but I'll ask them.
Is that, you think that's a max deal? I mean, that's a pretty good, very well attended group.
Yeah, they didn't have, no, we didn't have it last year, did we? It was canceled last year, yeah.
Nobody's wearing a mask or the beat.
Now, the sign now says that if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask in the beat down. So, I saw that the other day, we were there.
I'm not very good at that anymore. I'm not very good at that.
I wear mine. when
I wear,
go
I
out.
wear, but I kind of, you know.
But nobody wears them anymore.
Except Menards.
And damn it.
Any of them.
Oh, really?
They'll ask you to leave if you don't have one on.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And they need Menards.
Oh,
Yeah.
Don't let you
And,
in.
and go in the one and lock it. I thought my husband was going to freak out. I forgot it. I got to the door and I saw that. I saw a guy walking out. You better go get your mask. They're asking them to leave.
I've had my shot. They always ask you that. I was down in Alabama and nobody, everybody's wide open. You know?
Yeah.
And I've even had a booster.
Oh, you had a booster?
No,
Oh,
Not yet.
not yet, but it's.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's coming, yeah.
They say 90 days or 6 months or something after your last vaccination. Yeah.
But I've heard some weird stories about people, you know, getting sick, bad. I didn't have that.
I didn't either. I didn't have anything. I slept on this arm that night after.
By the
I was
way.
totally vaccinated, and the only thing I had was my back was aching for about an hour. I never had any.
Yeah.
A friend of mine had a Johnson & Johnson, and she was very sick for weeks.
Those people at Warren County, I'm gonna be giving a plus because they were organized.
Yeah, they get you in and out.
Yeah, you had them, but it wasn't from that. No, I didn't.
Okay, you ready? Okay.
I don't need to be down.
Okay, call to order the Fountain County Council meeting for May 10th, 2021. Has everyone had a chance to look over your minutes from the April 12th meeting? Are there any additions or corrections? Okay.
Page, and on our agenda last meeting, I didn't notice it, on resolution 2021-6, which is referring to the ambulance department.
Yes.
The capital outlay of 178,000 says for lease and purchase of equipment for the county highway.
It is,
Okay, thank you.
well, it is,
Okay.
because they needed 557,000. Garth has 168,000 already budgeted,
Okay,
but he needed an additional 32,000 to make up the difference.
I know what it says for county.
County highway, it should be
I'm
the
just
ambulance,
questioning
shouldn't
the
it?
wording so that we know where it's coming from.
No, the capital outlay of 178,000 is for the county highway department.
On top of the 400 above that? from
Yes.
seated?
Because they needed 577,000.
Okay. So that is right?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
okay,
believe it to be.
Okay.
okay. I just questioned if it was under the ambulance. So that's the reason I'm asking. Okay.
Yeah, well, we use Cuban capital development funds, but for the ambulance and for the,
Okay.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
168,000 in the budget, and Clark needed 32,000 more.
okay.
Okay.
Jim, I think you're 1138 4 zeros.
Yeah,
Maybe if another heading was, but I think
Okay.
I understand your confusion.
okay. It was under the dark bold print there, so that's why I was asking. Just to make sure we get where you're at. Okay, good.
Okay,
Thank you.
is there a motion then to approve the minutes? Tom, second. Bill, all those in favor? 7-0. Review and acknowledge the treasurer's bank reconciliation and monthly comparison report of funds for both March and April. Is there a motion to acknowledge those? Jim Lee, second.
I will.
Tom, all those in favor? 7-0. And then did we receive every one of those? Ambulance clerk, okay, that's submitted, okay. Performance mechanical, Scott Williams?
Yes.
Okay, you wanna come on up here and.
Yes.
So you're gonna tell us what you think about the boilers and,
Yes.
okay,
Yep.
we're
That's where we'll
prepared to
start.
listen, yep,
Okay, so as you're aware, the courthouse has 2 steam boilers, approximately 30 years old. So the situation with them right now, the south boiler has a small leak coming from one of the gaskets. And also some of the controls need repaired. That's the ongoing issue with it. As far as, I'm assuming you want me to give you my opinion of the state of the boilers and as they set. The boilers are cast iron boilers. They are, in my opinion, very good boilers. For a building of this type and the construction, and for what I know of the cost of the operation, I would, if it was in my discretion, I would look at rebuilding the boilers, and you put new gaskets and bolt kits on them, and update the burner controls and safeties. Basically, come to that conclusion. You have a building that's pushing 100 years old, and obviously there's things that you can always upgrade, but the amount of heat that it delivers is going to be, you're not going to match that in another heating system, I believe, for this structure. You've got an old block building, and you've got various aerial filtration issues. Unless you go to address all these other issues first, I think that's the best course of action, is to maintain the heating system that you have. Of course, there's issues with people saying comfort issues in certain areas. You're gonna have that regardless of the type of system that you put in, because everybody's different. So dollars and cents, that's my opinion on the boilers. If you want to ask me questions, more specific,
okay, if you rebuild them, what's the lifespan of, approximately, you can't.
Probably, other than the gasket issue on the south boiler, which you will have that sometimes. I see no issue in another 30 years.
Okay. And what about the lines?
Well, that's with anything. Unless you take a medical metallurgical test of them, but what I have cut out and seen, I don't see anything that doesn't suggest that you're not gonna get another 30 to 50 years out of the piping either. But that's gonna be in comparison to any other system you put in. You're always gonna have a potential of piping issues.
Anybody else got any questions?
I think Carol's got one behind it.
The cost of it.
To rebuild them, well, in conjunction with rebuilding the boilers, you have an issue with your chimney going on also. You'd want to address that simultaneously. The price range, I would say a minimum 150 to maybe 200,000, and that includes the chimney issue.
And what is your suggestion on the chimney issue?
Well, basically, what I would suggest that needs to be done is to lower the brick to 2 to 3 feet above the roof line, to cap it and then penetrate it with a flue liner that's dedicated to the 2 boilers. Then you would negate the condensation issue that I believe that's what's causing a lot of the destruction to the mural wall. And then also you would take out the potential leak of the chimney. Because it wouldn't be whatever it is, 8, 10, 12 feet in the air.
Okay.
Scott, do we know if there's any water under that roof? Do we know if there's any condensation under that roof? Because the
I
indicator,
don't personally know that. I mean, just through discussions and what I've heard hearsay from the roofing contractor, I don't believe that it's leaking. You know, a few years ago, we sealed the chimney the best we could on the outside, the mortar and all that. I honestly do not think if there is a roof leak and it is going towards the chimney, I don't believe it's due to the general vicinity around the chimney. I mean, it's flashed in and tied in and tied. I just don't see how that can be. I think of what, a month ago, a roofing contractor was out and exposed some areas in the roof and found some moisture and things, is my understanding. I don't know if that's correct or not.
I just got the idea on the last meeting that we had that the roof would rise as you would get air from inside. And that kind of question that I thought I'd ask is that, is there anything under that area of the roof that's coming up, and how is that happening?
Well, exactly. You've got an old building. I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, you've got a concrete roof that I'm assuming there's cracks in, concrete cracks over the years. I don't know how the walls were tied in. You know, that was done in, what, the 30s? So then they come in, they insulate the roof, they put a rubber membrane down. I mean, that's how it's done. So if you're asking me, are we getting rainwater up on the roof? I don't know. I don't see where it could be coming in from. No more than you guys have had the roofing contractor out here numerous times looking at the roof. So the question then, obviously, well, we got roof penetrations. Well, let's look at those. As far as the chimney goes, I don't believe it's coming in from the outside of the chimney. I mean, it's up. I mean, you could just walk up there and you can look at it. It's tight. It's installed correctly. So where are you getting? So I guess my first question: did they find water under the membrane? I mean, is that the question at hand? I don't know those. I don't know that answer. I mean, because I don't know what has been what the roofing contractor found.
I don't know, Rick, have they been back?
Andrew's been talking to him about that.
Right. I mean, I'm not privy to that information, so to give my honest opinion.
Yeah, there was water underneath the roof and underneath the membrane, but that issue had been addressed while they were.
So they did find some leaks.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of patches up. I know the last time we broke it, put 18 patches on. The last time it was here. But there's pipe hole open. I'm guessing 30 patches on a 5-year-old roof. roughly.
Okay, but that's really not to do with, I believe, the chimney issue. That's a separate issue. That, I didn't have that information, so, I mean, I don't know where the water was coming from. I'm confident it's not coming from the chimney to underneath the roof. I believe we're getting condensation in the winter time. Those are non-condensing steam boilers, so they make hot flue gas. They go up through a chimney that goes through a building that has moderate temperatures, and then as you hit the roof line, you get condensation. And that's the point of where I suspect the leak to be originating from, the water damage to the mirror. Is
Through
due
the
to the
chimney.
chimney, due to the, chimneys years ago, you would always go in and do maintenance on them. You would, send a guy down, remortar them, and keep them up. I'm assuming that's not been done here. And I wouldn't suggest that to be the proper repair if you're gonna keep the boilers. I would run a dedicated pipe up into that chase and basically make the chimney a chase now. And that's gonna negate any kind of sweating issue that you would have on the chimney. That, in my opinion, that'd be the best long-term, financially feasible solution to it. And that's only if you're gonna keep the boilers. If you're not gonna keep the boilers, tear the chimney down and cap it. That'd be the next solution. So,
And have you done the work on the air conditioning?
I've worked on the courthouse for maybe 3 to/4 years.
Okay.
So of course, there's things every time I come here, I find something new or learn something different. There's been a lot of people in here doing things and different logics behind what was done at the time, and I understand all that. You have approximately 10 5-ton split systems. They're trains. They're probably pushing anywhere between 25 and 30 years old. So the use of life on them has been very good. That's, I would say, above par to most systems. Some of the reasons I contribute probably the longevity of those systems is the type of condensers that are on the roof, and I don't want to glaze everybody's eyes over, but there are different technologies and different materials used. Train, along with American Standard, use a condenser coil. It's spine fin tube coils. It has the little gray Christmas tree looking stuff on the coils. Okay, there's a lot of research on it. In my opinion, I've been in this business for almost 30 years and worked on vast amount of equipment of all different types. I have seen those condensers outlast almost anything on the market, even when they're not maintained like they should, just due to the type of construction that they have. Most manufacturers use just a copper fin coil, which means it doesn't dissipate heat as much. And so when an outdoor condensing unit gets extremely hot and it's dirty and doesn't get clean, one of the major components of failure is it overheating. Well, with those condensers, because of the type of condenser coil, it buys you a lot of insurance. That's why you've gotten the life out of them you've gotten. And the newer technology coming out, almost everybody's using what they call microchannel cables. Case in point, at the sheriff's department, their chiller has a microchannel coil. Now, when it's working, it works great. It works just as good and it's highly efficient. But you gotta have ownership. And it's not the fault of the sheriff's department. We have cottonwood in this area, and it's a real concern. You can clean a microchannel coil. I could clean it today, and maybe by Thursday, it could be plugged up and your system not operating. Versus your older technology, condenser coils, you didn't have such a concern, especially with the spine fin coils. That's why a lot of times people don't even know that's an issue. But this last spring and summer, I don't know how many times I went out to the sheriff's department and cleaned the condenser coil, and that was all the problem was. And it wasn't due to anyone's oversight on maintenance. There was a 2-week period where I cleaned it 3 times. Or they would have had no coolant. It's that simple. When it works good, it works good. But when it's not, it falls fast. And that can be across the board with many different types of systems. But if this is leading into where I think we stand on just the overall HVAC of this building. You know, I've pondered this question. You know, I'm not here to take sides. It's my opinion. I've been around every type of technology that there is available to put into buildings as such as this. And for Fountain County, for the use of this building, for the long-term use, or while we don't even know what 10 years down the road is going to bring. I mean, I don't know, we have 50 people working here daily. With technology, you might in 10 years only have 20 people here daily. I mean, it's evident, you know. So if you're going to have a capital expenditure on something, and you're going to look at, let's say, a 20-year threshold, you got to look at your return on investment and what you're going to gain. You can always argue the side of the financial side and then couple it in with, well, indoor air quality concerns. You're always going to have indoor air quality concerns. That's every day. Emerging, we got the coronavirus. You're never going to 100% negate any of these issues. The thing is, there are technologies that have been time tested, long-term proven at a very reasonable cost that you could apply to this exact scenario. Or you could go very high tech, feel comfortable, and you could base it upon, oh, there's going to be savings over XYZ amount of years. But the devil's in the detail. You need to really analyze what you're buying into and what the terms of those agreements are, because they're ambiguous and data can be construed multiple different ways to fit the narrative. So you really need to understand what you're buying and what the long-term benefit to this building and the occupants are. That's my opinion.
Well, that's my next question. Scott, was even though we got air conditioning, we want to replace, we got heating system, we want to at least rebuild or whatever. And then when you're all done, you got a chimney, or you want a line to keep the condensation out, because that's what causing the mirrors to deteriorate. How, in order to check yourself, what would you use in order to, check your condensation level compared to your heating levels? You got
Well, there's data recorders.
you got those.
We have them. There's companies that come in and do that. I think some of those tests have been ran. Probably more expensive than what I've done, but the thing is, it's not as complicated as a lot of it appears. You use that data, you collect it, and then you build your proposal or your suggestions around the data. The thing is, the thing I'm stressing here, if we were going to build a brand new building with different construction standards and knowns, there's one road you would take. In the world of heating and cooling, there's not a one all fits solution. I don't care what type of equipment or manufacturer it is. It's not there. And the thing with this heating system, you think you have problems now with people complaining. Some of this newer technology, or I call it newer technology, it's been around for decades. It's just not been prominent. Steam heat is a warm heat. It's radiant heat. And if anybody has ever been around a heat pump system, and especially if you have older people in a building, my experience, and I've worked downtown Chicago for 5 years and took care of many buildings. of different magnitudes, retail to institutional. And, you know, you're always trying to satisfy everybody's wants and needs. We had a building up on Oak Street, I think it was Barney's of New York, back in 2005 or 6. They had a different heating and cooling system. It was a hot deck, cool deck. Well, they brought in some of the newer stuff and sell it on all this energy savings. Well, being in Chicago, it gets really cold, it gets really windy. So the company I was working with installed some new equipment, and thank God they didn't tear out the old equipment. Because that first winter, it fell on its face big time. And there was all the paperwork to support that it should work, and it didn't work as designed. It worked down to a certain temperature, and then it didn't keep people comfortable. And that's one scenario. I've had multiple others happen exactly the same way. So it scares me that I guess some of the prices I've heard of what this county, I mean, we're in Fountain County, Indiana, I'm from Fountain County. You know, if you're gonna put that kind of money into any kind of system, this is probably, in my opinion, not the building to do it. Because I don't think you're gonna get what you think you're gonna get out of it long term. I don't think it'll last as long as you guys think it will, or whoever. I don't think it's gonna have the energy savings. And I don't think it's gonna negate the complaint problem either. It might actually increase it in some point. You know, right now, you have, in heating, you have one thermostat for the boiler system, and then each radiator has a control. You can update them controls and make it tighter. So the issue at hand, you get what you get. But on some of this stuff, you're gonna now have the option to fight between heat and cool, whether it's in heating or cooling season. There's people that can sit in their room and be 72 and they're still wearing a knitted jacket, complaining that they're cold. And in the same room, there's somebody that is almost tearing their clothes off because they're hot. You're gonna get that with any type of HVAC system. I don't care what you buy. You're never gonna get rid of that problem. So the existing system, I would say this courthouse probably has between 60 to 70 tons of cooling. And when you calculate that BTUs to the heating system, right now you have a highly redundant system, 2 boilers. All it takes is one boiler to keep this place heated. And I've seen it down to below 0 with one boiler running, and nobody here would have known any better. The cycle time on it is very good. It's not struggling. It maintains very well constant temperatures. Yeah, and there's issues. I mean, it's almost 100-year-old building. But it's not going to be, in my opinion, you know, depending on what route you go, you're going to be trading one issue for another. And it's going to be quicker than you realize. It can be 5 to 10 years, and I foresee issues because I've been around it quite a bit in similar situations. So, does that make any kind of sense of what I'm saying?
Yeah, I just want to back up a little bit because I got, you know, a while ago, we were talking about maybe the lifespan, maybe the boilers, maybe 30 years, but 10 years. We could have other issues. We could have those with anything else.
Yeah, you could have it with even, I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say, okay, you have it with the boilers, absolutely. No one has a crystal ball. But the type of boilers you have now, I mean, here's another thing with what the courthouse has now, there's a lot of workarounds. What I mean is if something breaks, just like on a farm, you know, there's okay, this is the proper way to fix it, but I got 40 acres left to plant. I need to get this field planted. So I'm going to put this bone wire on and get it done. Not that that's what you want to do, but you have workarounds with what you have here. Almost any company you call, regardless if it's me or any other local HVAC company, with what you have here, you can get it up and going and in quite a short order for very reasonable costs because of what you have. You start changing to what they claim is emerging technologies, you're really marrying yourself to a wagon, and you're going to be limited more on who's going to work on it, parts availability, which is getting extremely difficult on even some of the most common stuff. We did a project 3 years ago, brand new piece of equipment, it was Panasonic. Startup, it went about a month, one of the compressors went out. It was 6 months to get a new compressor from China or Japan. On a boat. Now, this was stuff, we have it in the warehouse, it's available. And it wasn't available. And that was before pre-COVID and all this supply chain issues we're having now and manufacturing constraints. So,
Scott, excuse me, how are we gonna measure, or can we measure, or maybe it's not a good question. How can we measure the air quality today? What's out there to
you
measure?
do air sampling. There's companies out there that specialize in it, third parties, they'll come in and set up basically it's a little vacuum tube that goes across the filter and they send it into a lab and it analyzes what's in the air. The good thing about this building that's older, if any of you guys, which most of you guys have been from Fountain County and ladies too, you know, over the course of the last 20 years, building construction standards have changed. Department of Energy has put a lot of constraints and stuff. You've heard of civic building syndrome? Yeah. Well, to dumb it down, it's because we've made buildings too tight with modern materials that aren't necessarily healthy in an enclosed environment. Years ago, even with those same materials, we might not have had the same issues because our buildings leak. Air infiltration is always looked at from an efficiency standpoint as a bad thing. But from an indoor air quality standpoint, in my opinion, it's not a bad thing. What happens in your house if you get too hot, cold, or you get a smell? You open the window. What are we doing? We're bringing in outdoor air. It's that simple. There's mechanical and electrical devices now that we can put in to negate a lot of those issues. Ionization technology that neutralizes viruses and bacteria. But at the same point, you got to realize if we're in this room, we have so many cubic feet of air, and we have an air register and return, we're only doing so many air changes a minute and an hour. You're only going to filter and clean that air to a certain point. It's like the whole table here. At any given point, I'm only cleaning this corner. This is still, eventually, it gets scrubbed, but it's not to the point of this, oh, we got clean air. It does help, but it's not a bulletproof solution unless you're in a clean room. And the room is basically a balloon with 100% no infiltration. You're never going to get this building at that level. sure if you're buying into something, if there are certain building automation controls, that it's open source and not proprietary. Because once you buy a certain type of manufactured equipment technology, you're married to it. You're not going to get away from it. So as far as the energy savings, that's a whole nother issue. If you just take 20 minutes, you go online and research different things, you're going to answer a lot of these questions yourself. There is a place for everything, not against any of it. But for this building in particular, I have concerns what the long-term benefit overall for everything we discussed is going to be. It's just my personal opinion.
So any of these registers and so on, wouldn't be removing any or wouldn't be adding any?
No, not that I'm aware of. We can flush them, but I mean, I've analyzed a few of them and they're in great condition for their age. I mean, I wouldn't be concerned for another 50 years, to be honest. I mean, they don't make stuff like that anymore. That's why these things are plastic. You don't want to rip them out. Even if you go a different, let me put it this way, another thing, a saving grace. If you guys decide to go a different route, I would really caution about tearing out the steam boilers. Because you really want to have a solid, more so than cooling. Newer stuff, it cools fine, in my opinion. Some of it isn't going to dehumidify as well as a conventional system because of the way the variable speed compressors work to maintain close temperatures. So they may have to, you may have to look at some side issues for dehumidification, which right now, in my opinion, the humidity levels maintained in the summertime here are very reasonable. But heating, you better make sure you have a good backup plan. And these things are Sherman tank. If something happens, even if you go a whole nother route, I would highly suggest not to get rid of your steam heat because it could be the thing that saves you during a negative 20 degree cold snap.
What about the air conditioning now? You give us kind of an estimate on that?
So-
Or we should not hold you to that?
Well, no, and there's varying degrees of, price is only indicative of a lot of factors.
Right.
What you're buying, labor costs and all these other factors. But I would say if I was to do and I'm just saying for me, and it gives you a range, if I was to do a proposal for this building on rebuilding the boilers and replacing the existing HVAC systems minus the rooftop unit, which is only 2 or 3 years old, integrating some new controls that could be monitored off-site. So you have integration of some building automation controls and maybe dehumidification system. The price range, boilers and all that, I would suggest on a low end, $550, on the high end spectrum, $800 to $850,000 to revamp what you have. And that's a huge range, but there's a lot of variables that go into that conversation. If you just change out similar to similar, you're going to be on that lower end. If you want to go with more similar technology, but more efficient, higher efficiency ratings, which anything you're going to put in today is going to surpass what you have now anyways, just because of the equipment that's being sold. So no matter, even if you went with the low end system, you're still probably gonna be stretching at 20 to 25% more efficient on the HVAC side anyways. Bare minimum of what you have now. And those are just percentages, because I don't know the actual numbers, but that's a very common numbers for structures like this with the type of equipment you have. I would feel comfortable saying that without even doing any testing. And there's ways to monitor that too, and there's ways to back engineer this based off of utility costs and outdoor temperatures. You really don't need a whole lot of data recorders. All the data's been recorded. You just need to input it into an algorithm, and it tells you approximate savings based upon assumptions of energy cost, use.
Anybody else?
That was tearing down, that was taking the roof down to about 2 or 3 feet.
Yeah. I would say that at least 2 feet, I mean, leave it a minimum of 2 feet above, and then you cap it all the way down and then close it, encapsulate it. So it would be 100% encapsulated.
Scott, roughly what would that be? Take that down, the brick down, put that line roughly price wise.
Well, last time I looked at pricing, which was over a year ago, I don't want to go on record now, but that time my verbal estimate was between 40 and 45,000. It's going to probably be higher due to material costs right now. But I don't know, say 45 to 50,000, and that would include the new flue pipe. It's not technically a liner. It'd be a flue pipe that goes down the middle of the chimney. Now, that is now acting as a chase. We're not actually lining the chimney. So I want to make sure that's understood. And there's been other companies here I spoke to that looked at it, and they're in agreement with that also. So it's just, on that issue, it's just not my opinion. There's been other people who looked at the same problem. And that's what the general consensus was.
How far does that chimney go?
Approximately,
How deep does that go down to this courthouse?
well, from ground level to the top of the courthouse, approximately 50 feet.
So you're looking at the total, when you do that pipe.
You're gonna be 50 plus whatever for your flue stack, and then, down into the basement, probably another 5-6 feet. There's a burner box that we have to take out, but you're looking, let's say overall about 60 feet of pipe is what you're looking at. And once again, you'd only do that if you're going to keep the steam boilers. Otherwise, you just cap it if you're not going to keep the steam boilers. Because there'd be no reason to have, you're not gonna have hot flue gas any longer. You go a different direction. So I mean, that's the whole thing. I don't want somebody to, whether I do it or not, put that in and then 6 months later tear it out. Which I see that happen a lot.
Scott, is that approximate verbal to put the flue pipe in? Is that included in your approximate $150,000 to $200,000?
Yeah, that would be. And once again, I haven't priced material.
Right.
So I want to be very clear that I'm not built to, if I was to do it, I'm just giving them an idea.
Would have to go out for bids.
Yeah, it would have to go
anyway,
out to bids anyway,
yeah.
so it's a new point, but it gives you an idea.
When I talked to Scott, and I was asked to talk to you, Scott, you'd asked me what would you like for me to do, and you did exactly today what we wanted to hear. I asked you to tell us about our system and what you would do with it. And so that was all my question. The only thing popping in my mind right now are those 25 spots on that roof that we don't know what kind of shape it's in. That would be the other thing. I
Just
don't know.
to give some clarity, at one point there was with the roof rising, that's been a concern of people. Personally, that's no concern to me. That's actually probably more of a benefit. Because you know you're moving some air through that structure if it does have moisture under. I don't think you're ever going to get rid of that problem because of the way the building was designed and built. But to stress the point, is it an issue? No, I don't believe it to be an issue. And furthermore, it's not coming from the rooftop unit. Even though the ductwork does go down through the roof line, I have personally taken all that apart, examined it, put it back together so that it's next to impossible that it's coming from the HVAC system directly. Indirectly, it can rise the roof. The rooftop unit brings in outdoor air, the economizer, and the building's like a balloon. It kicks on. We put static pressure in this building. Even with the leaks, we do get some air lift through that roof. But is it an issue? I don't believe it to be a problem whatsoever. So.
Anybody else? Okay, appreciate you coming in and
Thank you.
giving us your opinion on it. Sandy?
I've been here longer than there. I've lived through about everything. Window replacement, air conditioning. Okay, I went to the commissioners first, but I am not gonna run next year. I'm retiring at the end of next year. And we've had a data collector. I hired her last year. And she worked about 2 months and found out she had breast cancer. She's had a double mastectomy. She's back to work. I want to put her as part-time and hire a new data collector. I said I wasn't going to do part-time, that she's going to work on the gross rent multiplier for me, which is something that I've been wanting to do forever, but it takes a lot of time. And so I want her dedicated to that as part-time because she's still got doctor's appointments. She's still recuperating. She can't go full-time out in the field. So I don't have a data collector. So I've hired a data collector and I want to move Tracy to part-time, but I would like to pay her, I think in the budget it's $9. I think I'd like to pay her the $14 because when she does this gross rent multiplier, which she's got letters to send out today, then she has to call the people if they don't return the information. If they don't return the information or answer her calls, then she has to go out to the houses that are rented, find out what rent they're paying and stuff. It's a big process to get this established. Once it's established, once the landlords know that we have this, when somebody buys a house that they're going to rent, all they do is come in and tell us what the rent is. We take it times the multiplier, and that's the assessment on the rent. So it makes everybody's life a lot easier. Landlords don't have to appeal because we don't know they're renting it out. We assess it as a regular home that gets the homestead. They come in and pay rent. You got to do an income approach. So I'd like to put her, I'm going to put her at doing that for me. It's not a easy job. And as she gets better, I want her to start going out and taking pictures of the properties that we don't have, like Milan, Newtown, Hillsborough, we don't have a lot of pictures. We need that information because being a market value state now, when you upgrade your home, you put in on new siding, new roofs, you do all this improvement to your house, it's not a 1900 house anymore. It's more of a 19 or 2000 house. you know, you have to see these properties. I can't go out and see them. I don't have time now. I think I heard people in my office now because it's been out for a while. I have the money in my budget since she hasn't worked in the data collector. If I need more money to pay her out of clerical, I would transfer that money down into extra clerical. I have $26,731 in data collecting. We won't use that much because I'm just now hiring a new data collector that'll go out every day. And once I can get her trained. And Tracy even said on the days she feels good, and then some days she feels pretty good, she would help go out and train her. She just can't stay out very long, and she doesn't have any stamina to do that kind of work. When she's in the office, she sits at a desk and she's doing her stuff, and calling, she can do that, but stamina out walking around yards and stuff, she's not gonna have. So if I could pay her the $14, which is what she was making as data collector, as part-time, and then my data collector, if I need any money to fulfill the budget at the end of the year, it would be very little. Because Tracy's not gonna work every day. She's only gonna get paid for the hours she works. There's days she's got doctor's appointments. She's gonna have a reconstruction. So there's gonna be a lot of times she's not gonna be here.
Well, I don't see on your extra clerical, a rate per hour. I see on our 911, it's $14 an hour for part-time. So I don't know why.
If it's okay with the council. And I need to get people trained because I am not running. And I know Missy is planning on getting her level 3 and running, but with me gone, they'll need it. So I'm just kind of getting people trained to do different things. Sue's getting up there. She's a little older than me and she's gonna retire. I don't know about Linda, you know, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, so.
So what is the salary ordinance in on her extra clerical? Because I don't have a copy of, you know, I
I
got.
thought I saw somewhere back in the budget that there was a
Because the
$9.
only one listed on here is 911 and it says 14. I don't know what. Let's see, auditor doesn't have any extra clerk, treasurer, part-time, and it doesn't have a dollar amount on that one either.
I think it was $9. So what she was doing was not worth working.
Right.
So, you know, I think Tracy, since she was data collector, she's been out, she's very good with me, very good. And she, you know, I think she deserves the 14. Now, she would be part-time, so no benefits,
Okay,
you know.
and it's under your reassessment
Mhm.
fund, so. need to look at that in August when we do next year, so,
That way it's easy across the board.
yeah, that's right. Highway Department.
Good morning.
Morning.
Wake me up. According to the minutes that I was reading this, I'm asking for 18,500 that we obtained from the sale to be put back in for grader blades. It's actually an attachment to the front of the road grader. It's a disc. When we're recovering the material from the side of the road, this thing cuts the sod and breaks it all up, and then we can break it out. And that's what we'd like to put it into. That was on the additional. Then I presented to the commissioners a list of equipment. And the reason I did that, I don't know, most of you probably are very aware, pricing is going out. Metal is skyrocketing. If there is a piece of machinery sitting and you have an opportunity to get it, you better get it, because the two dump trucks that we ordered back in October are on the third recall setback. We're not probably going to get those till October. I mean, it's the industry is getting crazier each day. That being said, I had bids from Caterpillar, John Deere, Case, and two other off-brand things to give me a quote bid on equipment that we're needing to complete this road grader program that we've adopted. And also, I was told by the commissioners to present you with the list. And that's AKA the Fountain County May 4th, 2021 equipment needed by the Highway Department. If I know I can budget items, I understand that. The DGLF has cut that budget almost $5 million in the last 4 years. Over 5 million. So, and if I wait until budget, which would be August and September and October, these prices aren't going to even be close. So I just feel that if it's possible that you guys, I know you bailed us out a lot, but you got to remember for the last 40 years, the Highway Department paid for everything on their own, including their own insurance. And they've done it all by themselves without a lot of additional appropriations. I know they asked for some, but I plan to put $500,000 in the budget for a new paper. I think we can get by this year with what we've got, no more than what is scheduled as far as what we have in bituminous and what have you. But the pneumatic tire roller, the double drum vibrating roller, and the single pad foot roller, I think are a necessity this year. And the reason I think that is because I borrowed those items from other contractors so we could do what we got to get done. The two hot boxes, what we have in stock right now, we cannot get parts for anymore. They're way past age. Those run at $41,170. Those are available as we speak today, if we do that. So I'd really, really appreciate if you could look, if there's any way possible, I know this is a pretty big list, but if there's any way possible that you can see fit to put these in this year, I almost promise I won't come back and ask for any more the rest of the year. I know that's funny, but it's a situation where we got a program going, even though we haven't gotten much support out of us. The commissioners did approve it. You probably had complaints from people about the gravel on the road. That's your gravel. We brought out of the road and we moved it across. The rain we had this week helps that pile of gravel because now it washes a lot of mud and stuff out of it. We take it back across and reuse it. We gotta get it compacted. We gotta get it prepared and widened. And then we have to top dress it. And we're prepared to do all those phases. We can get by. I'll tell you that right now, but it's big borrowed steel to get by. It'd be a lot easier if we had the equipment that we could do the job that we know we can do and not have to look back over our shoulder. So that's why I'm here requesting that today, if possible. And I understand sometimes that's not possible. But I would like that 18.5 put back into equipment. It says grader blades. It's actually a disc blade that fits the front of a grader. And I have, that's not the total cost. The total cost is $26,000. I have the money in my budget to pay the difference between that 18.5 and what the actual price is.
Okay, let's talk about this 18.5.
Okay.
One question I have was any of that money from the jail equipment, did we sell any of that?
No.
We didn't-
No,
they
that's
didn't
not
have-
separate.
So they didn't end up selling anything from the
No,
jail?
sir.
Okay,
No, sir.
okay. So is there a motion to approve putting this 18,500 from the road equipment sale back into the highways budget? Dale Clausen made the motion. Second, Jim McKee. All those in favor? 7-0. Okay, now, as far as this equipment, I am told commissioners did not vote to approve it yet.
Do what?
That the commissioners did not
No.
vote. So
But
they
told
have
me
to,
give you a list.
but they have to vote first.
Yes, I
Okay,
understand that.
okay.
But
So, I mean, we'll take it under advisement and.
Right,
and,
and that's why I wanted to get it in today. We talked about last week, and I was suggesting print out the paperwork for you. I have all the quotes from all the different places if you want to see all that. But those are the figures that are leased, and some of them are more. It depends on the equipment. So
Okay,
just to, you'd have an idea, and we can all try to find out what we can. Availability of this stuff is getting scarce. I'm just telling you right now. And I have borrowed from other contractors, so
That cost it.
I'm gonna get some of it done. Yes, sir.
Do you have to pay for that when you borrow stuff, or is it just
Some and some not. We haven't negotiated everything yet, but we're gonna use it and show that this is the way to go. And once that's done, we will publicize, here's the finished project. If you want to know what your gravel road is gonna look like, come and look. Because right now, it takes me an average of 3 to 5 hours per day explaining to everybody why there's piles of gravel on the side of the road and what's gonna be done. And I can't mow roadsides and I can't do this. Well, when we get the established 40 foot, there won't be roadsides mowed in the first place because they're already farming right up to the edge of the road without us getting in. So that being said, we're trying to soften the blow, take and recover, and also maintain and fix what our problems are. And I think with what we got, we've done a pretty good job so far. We haven't finished the project yet. There's none finished. There's a lot of aggression on the grader operators that want to go show that they've learned something. And we got a lot of roads open with this program. We just haven't got any closed and finished, so that when you see the closed finished product, you say, wow, finally got a road. And hopefully next spring, that road will still be no ruts and ready to go compared to what we have now on Fighter Bridges when we have our bridges. Now, that being said, that doesn't include blacktop. This is gravel road program only. And and our blacktops did take a beating, so. We're doing the best we can with what we have. The hot boxes, by the way, that I've got a quote here for, just to explain that. Those things carry 4 tons of asphalt, hot asphalt. Not this stuff that you put in a hole that's out a week later. It's hot asphalt that goes along with our total patchers. We can actually use 3 ton, plug it in, and we still have a hot asphalt the next morning. These machines will keep it. And they're very easy to operate. They're self-contained. Everything's on them, including the stand to put a compactor on so that we can compact it instead of taking a roller up there when we fill a pot. And those are some of the things that haven't been done because, let's just face it, somehow we can't find a hand hamper to pack those holes. Those disappear pretty fast, and I don't have any idea who would want them, but they definitely don't run in our shop. They disappear. I don't understand, but it's just when you, a good example of this sale, what we sold, 90% of that was, I wouldn't even blink that he got $10 out of any of it. The one that brought the most tractor has been on fire. Steve Songer told me per foot, it was $500 per foot for the harness, wiring harnesses for that mower. And it takes about 26 foot, and it didn't have the front pump, and it brought $4,500. And it didn't run. So we took junk away from our place and made money. That's all, and that's unusual, but we just felt like we need to do that. Also, I will tell you that right now, we have an outside source bidding on our, we're picking the new distributor up today and the new chip box today. We have funding in our budget for. Those will be here today. The used ones that we can't get parts or whatever, we have a company bidding on those from Arkansas. So as soon as those sell or whatever, then I'll be back. But not that for anything more than what I got. And I will go to the commissioner to get approval of that. So, check the riverboat funds and see if we got any. We did check.
I'll just make a comment. I went with Rusty one day to look at some roads. We got out on a road that, just a farm road, down county farm road. We measured it, it's 14 feet wide. It's all wider it is. And the ditches are non-existent. And if he gets a 40-foot right of way, we're gonna be in about 5 rows corn on each side of the road. It's ours.
Yes, I was just gonna say the
So-
same thing.
That's what he's trying to get recovered is all that. And there is a lot of, I mean, I know there's gravel, like you said, they're testing and the training that day, they're showing that there's gobs of gravel. And we went on a couple of roads that they've started that, piled it up, and it's gonna make a difference when he gets it done. I can see that.
Thank you.
My only concern is we cannot pull into the ditch with our semis. We can't spray, we can't get into the field with the sprayer because the pile is so incredibly high. And I've got a picture of Mountain Road that is solid mud. So how do we, because I'm getting phone calls.
I do every day, 50 a day, so yeah. The mud is when you drag that across and pile it, you gotta have rain to get it out, okay? And Mountain Road has so much dirt on it that we wear out greater place trying to keep Mountain Road going. We're getting rid of the dirt. Compaction is the secret to what you're looking at.
Yeah, because there's no way for the water to run off.
Right.
Not
So
at
if
all.
we don't compact it. Have you ever seen a construction site where they didn't have compactors? You won't. You gotta get it compacted. Then we gotta put good stuff over. Once the ditches are established, you won't have a problem of getting your semis over or whatever, because you won't sink in.
Right.
Because it'd be compacted. getting that gravel going, like right now, the problem is, right now, we have more open than we can possibly keep up. So our whole objective this year is to finish the ones that are open, that have been cut the first time.
Right.
And try to get that over, get that established, and then go
What do I tell the people that can't get into their driveway?
in their driveway.
Yeah, because they've done this, cut it, and they've cut their driveway entrance into their
Where's
driveway.
that one at?
It was on Bell Road.
Bell Road, okay, I'll look at that.
Well, I think her father went up there with the grater blade, and
Pardon?
I think her dad went there with the grater blade and graded that down so she could get in her driveway.
Okay. I'll bring this up right now, and I'm not trying to look for a thing, but in Boone County, for example, just gonna use Boone County as an example because they have good examples. If you build in Boone County, you have to have a permit to the county to put a driveway entrance in, and it will be what the county specifies. So people that build down to the gravel road, put that there. When you get your 60 right away, that driveway is in the county right away.
So if
And that's why I asked for permission, to provide at least one entrance, 40 foot by 12 entrance, whether it be a field or a drive. We'll put it out of the right of way, and it'll be smooth. But the water will go through it instead of cutting around it and taking the road and what have you.
So if you're recapturing the ditches to get your footage,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody does not farm up to the road.
No, I understand that, but
So,
like he said, where we went, it was a difference.
The warning ditches,
Yeah, there are any ditches.
they're already plowed in.
Right.
Over the years, they can run over and work the shed. You can just drive right off.
And I agree with what you're saying. In certain situations, they have probably been over aggressive, the grader guy has. We'll get it. I'll go look at that too. And I'll address that. But those are some of the things that we were trying. It is a new program. Purdue came out with it. Purdue found it. I asked Purdue 13 years ago for a program. They didn't have anything. When I came back, they found out I was back here. They asked me if we wanted to be the first county to try the new program. The man is a retired CB. He ran Nebraska LTAP for 16 years. He went out on his own. He is currently going to be in White County. If anyone wants to go up there and see that program, it's the 18th of May. He'll be putting on his 2-day program. Then hopefully he'll be in Montgomery County at the end of May or the 1st of June. So all around us, we will have the same program and everybody see the same result. The problem was my guys said, are we going to grade the old way or are we going to go the new way? And I figured on the new way, we'd show some improvements, but they went crazy and they went a lot of roads that we, even if we had the program in full development, I couldn't keep up with everything they got over.
mhm.
Now, before winter, those will have to be closed back. Okay, and hopefully compacted one way or the other, whether we drive truck loads up and down it, whether we pack it with our equipment we have, track it in, I don't care, we've got to close it before winter. Hopefully then next spring, we'll say we're doing these roads, and that's it.
Mhm.
And have that program going. Remember, I said I wanted to start Davis and up the north and come down the east side of the county all the way down. Well, unfortunately, we got it opened up all over.
Mhm.
So now we have to address that. It's not that the horses behind the cart, but they're running parallel with each other. So we have issues that we have to address and will address. It's going to take time. Rome didn't get built in a day, so. Tell them to call me. I'll explain it. Like I said, the commissioners, once I finally explained it to them, I think Joe and us were working on a program we can put out over the air through the radio stations, through, Joe's got a website, trying to get the public to have acknowledgement of how this program works. Once they understand it, I think everybody can cooperate around it.
Yeah, because they had no idea what the heck was
Right.
going on.
And I
And
understand.
they were furious.
Yes, they are. I get them every day. I know.
Yeah,
Travis gets them every day. He knows. Europe gets them more than she should. She knows. And I'll be back to get one of those ambulance services on the county highway phone. So press 1 if you want. No, just saying. We'll get her taken care of, through the commissioners, and then we'll be back.
Okay.
Thank you. Unless you have something else.
Anybody? Okay, we got a request to transfer $500 from website to economic development dues to cover the invoice from the Greater Lafayette Commerce Indiana Technology Corridor. The amount of $2,000. So is there a motion to approve the request to transfer the $500? Jim McKee, second. Jim Lee.
Give me that.
Okay. All those in favor? 7-0. Appointments, we have
Yes,
Covington Petersburg Library Board.
yes. Stephanie Lover stepping down and they want to appoint Danetta Jordan. And then on Yesenia Gertler, the date was December 25, how she submitted it, and it should have been December 31st of 24. So the State Library Board wants the council to reappoint the Gertler.
Okay, and then this Danetta Jordan is only to finish the term of Stephanie Lober through
Yes.
April 1st of 2022.
Yes,
Okay,
that's correct.
so is there a motion to do the appointment of Danetta Jordan and the correction of the appointment of Yesenia Girdler? Okay. Is there a second? Bill, all those in favor? 7-0. Surtax, wheel tax, if we want to make any changes to that, we have,
Okay, we gotta do the other one too.
oh, what's that? What other one?
On Gertler.
We did both.
did the
The vote, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, we did the appointment and the
Okay.
correction.
sorry.
That was all in the same motion. Yeah, okay. So I need to sign those, right? Okay. Surtax, wheel tax, if we're gonna make any changes to that, we have to do that before September 1st, to be effective next January. They're gonna be, anybody have any thoughts on that, on whether we wanna just leave the wheel tax, surtax the same?
do you know, what is it? What is the,
That on your license plate,
right, but what's the amount,
it's all different.
all different?
Yes,
ones? Okay.
cars are, it's a set rate for cars, set rate for trucks,
Okay.
RVs. Actually, we can get that,
Here, I got a copy of the ordinance.
okay. Is this a copy then?
Yes, that's a
Okay,
copy.
you can have that copy
I
there.
have a
That-
feeling somebody might have questions.
Okay. We've got till September 1st if we want to make any changes to that, so.
Okay.
That tells you what the rates are.
Yeah.
I don't think, we made, added some vehicles like buses and, yes,
Yeah, buses are on here, trailers, different
Yeah.
types of trailers by weight.
yes. I don't think we've increased the rate. Everybody yells about what their license plates cost now. Okay, so we'll just have to do that before September 1st if we want to make any changes, so. Joe, you got anything?
The only thing I have, just a reminder, I passed these out. Wondering if you've got one that's the cybersecurity emergency response plan. And, using the policies, I don't want to do it. But it is a working document, or living document, I should say, for every year we may be updated. So this is your copy.
Everybody get a copy of this, because I did sign off that he gave you all a copy, so He hit me when I walked in the building, said, sign this, and better make sure everybody's got a copy, so,
Okay.
okay.
Other than that, Thursday is my LAPC meeting and the EMA board meetings.
Okay. Garth, anything?
Just full update on the ambulance. Run numbers are not changing. We're still running 240 calls a month. 240 run a month last month. Collections, we're doing pretty well. We had a little, it wasn't on us, it was on Medicare. There was a delay in their payments. It wasn't just us, it was all the services were experiencing it. Something with the stimulus money and all that, kind of had a delay, but we're back to full force on that. So, I had 2 full-time employees quit, one quit for personal reasons, one, pursuing another career. He wants to get into be a flight nurse or a flight medic, so he kind of went a different way. But I do have both those positions filled, with other people, so, but that takes away from my part-time group, and that's been an ongoing challenge. It's going to be a continuing ongoing challenge trying to find part-time people to work.
Everybody's having trouble finding.
Yeah,
people.
well, you know, no offense, I probably shouldn't say this, but you can sit at home for $1,000.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is.
But I also, I talked to the commissioners a little bit about this. So last month I talked about an ambulance for next year too, which we're going to talk at budget time. Something we're going to have to look at is we're probably going to need to add to our staff. Either 2 to 4 people, staff another truck. If it's either 12-hour shifts or 24-hour shifts. We're running numbers right now to the point where we need that 4 truck staff on at least 12 hours, if not 24. So I'm putting my numbers together for you and bringing that to you about budget time, but it, we're going to really need to seriously look at that, the run numbers we're having right now.
Well, I've been keeping track how many times you drive by my house on 28, and I can probably give you all those numbers because I see you guys go by all the time.
Yes. Yeah, we're running pretty heavy right now, and we're, you know, when I first started here, we did a lot of runs into Williamsport. Not that we don't now, but we're doing a lot of transfers out of the county. I mean, Lafayette, Terre Haute, Champaign, long distance. A lot of, you know, because of where their doctors are at or the care that can be provided. You know, they're going to Lafayette for a cath lab or stroke, Champaign for trauma. So it's just, and you're looking at 2.5, 3 hour turnaround time. So that, you know, leaves the county, you know, vulnerable, you know, not having a truck here, you know, staff. So I look at it, when I first started here 20 years ago, we were running 4 calls a day. We're up to almost 7.5, 8 runs a day. So, and it's just continuing to grow. And I don't, you know, we all thought, well, 2020 is the reason why we're so busy. We're into the 4th month and we're around 240 calls still, so it's not COVID. So just kind of give you a heads up where we're at right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything for me?
Is that a 12-hour shift?
Do what?
Is that a 12-hour shift? When you say you got time away and nobody's here, time you get back, you got 2 or 3 hours to cover. How long are those guys working?
They're working right now 24-hour shift. They're on for a whole 24 hours.
I see.
What I'm looking at is we're putting more staff on, raising minimum at least a 12-hour on over the truck, you know, maybe 8 to 8, you know, I don't know, we have to look at the numbers, you know, to help offset. We look at where the runs fall, timeline, a lot of them fall in that 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And I can't tell you that we don't get busy at 11:30 at night, I'm not gonna tell you that, but the probability of that is lower than it is that 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. during the day. But right now, my people work 24-hour shifts. And their schedule right now is they work 48 straight. So they're on 24 on duty, 24 on call. They're off a day, then they work a 24 and out, and they're off for days, and they rotate. So it's on a 7-day rotation. not your normal typical rotation. A lot of places do the ABC, what they call ABC shift. They work 24 off 48. With not having enough staff, I can't run the 24/48s, you know, or what I call 24/48. You gotta have at least a minimum of 18 people, full-time people to do that. Right now, we're at 14. So, you know, if we went to that type of rotation, I mean, you're talking another 4 people. But a lot of things, I know a lot of things to think about. Like I said, just a couple things you want to put in your ear, that bug in your ear. Obviously, we're going to look for a remount or a new truck next year with the mileage that we're putting on the trucks. And we're going to have to look at staffing, a serious look at staffing. Just to make sure we're, you know, getting good coverage for our community.
Thanks, Garth.
Thanks.
Garth?
Yes.
I'd like to say a word to the incident we had down our way.
Mm-hmm.
The family told me we feel sorry that the ambulance and the sheriff department, thanks, and they were very, very professional, and they stayed there until the dad got their vehicle.
Yep.
I really appreciate that.
Thank you. I'll pass that on. I was part of that too. All right, I'll pass that on.
Okay.
Anybody have anything else? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Terry?
Just a small, I did see on the agenda sheet. I didn't look, so I don't know if Nancy sent it over for the additional appropriations.
I was gonna ask the commissioners first, and then I was gonna send it to the council next meeting, but go ahead.
I can wait.
No, let them know.
What it is,
We'll go through formal.
because we're running through jailers right now. You know, we're having a problem. So I'm gonna ask for an additional $10,000 for the time for the guys that, and females that are working the other shifts. So right now, when everybody knows, it's easier to stay at home and collect your extra money than go to work, so. Anyway, that's what I'm asking for. If you need to be presented to the commissioners first, I'll do that next week. And we'll go from there. But that's what I'm asking for. Just to keep the old time going, so. Did you get a copy of this?
I don't know.
So I don't know what she sent me.
Yes, I did get a copy of that.
Okay.
I got it.
Okay. No, I was talking to the commissioners. You go from there.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you for the heads up.
Hey, how many we got?
Anything for me, or?
Hey, Terry, how many people we got?
Oh, how many?
I've got 69 in jail, at least one this morning.
And how many are out of county that we're going to get paid for?
18.
18. So we have 51 of our own?
Don't ask me why. I've got people going, hey, I've got one more. Come on in. We'll take it.
Yeah.
It is.
Warren, at Vermillion County, are we getting?
July and August
So,
is what we're looking at. So
Okay.
an additional, possibly 30 more.
okay.
So that will hover us around 99 to 100 inmates.
Okay. How many beds we got? 1, 12?
Yeah. So we're getting up there.
It's close.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Benson, you have anything? Okay. Commissioners? Two. Greg, you got
I
anything?
don't know if you can see him or not.
He's hiding.
Yeah, I'm fine. No, I'm good. Be coming up short.
Well, we need to talk about this heating and cooling. What are the commissioner's decision on that, but we have to appropriate the money. So we need some discussion about it. What request? Oh, you went ahead and advertised for a request for proposals? Okay. for what kind of system?
There isn't a specific type of system mentioned. No matter what, we have to go through the public process of getting, numbers put in place, so, it's not determined what type of system. It just creates an opportunity for anybody that has qualification, then for us to decide what type of system we're going through.
Okay, so you're getting quotes for
Really?
repairing the boilers, for doing the, what was that, or VRF?
We're getting companies in place that are qualified to work with our
Okay,
county. Once we get that, then we'll fix the system.
so anybody can quote on that. So Jim, you mentioned your neighbor that you wanted, so he needs to have a quote on that.
Yeah, it should be advertised already as of
Okay.
last week.
Okay.
So that'll be here in July.
And I had, on behalf of Jim and Key, I had already reached out, he sent that email, I had already talked to Brandon, so I did let him know.
And Brandon has the request for proposal too.
Okay.
So he's got it.
Okay. And Scott?
Scott has it.
Okay, so Scott has, okay. So then we'll just have to wait till July before we do anything.
July
Six.
6th.
We're gonna have no time at the end of July.
What was that?
Okay, at the end of July, when everything comes in, then we gotta have a bid process again, right? Whatever you decide to go with, then you gotta bid it again. Whatever what you want.
Yeah.
So that will put us into late fall, we have enough time, what I'm saying,
No.
to fix what we wanna fix for winter.
Once we get to the qualification, that's just, giving the county the opportunity to pick whatever contractor we want to go with, and then there'll be a design take from there. They'll take it and design whatever system we choose to go with, present that system, and then that system will go. Then we'll have to figure that out.
You give a time limit in the paper, I didn't see that.
So by law, we have to advertise it for 36 days, I think, with a 6 or 7 day gap and another 30 days. So there's a 66, 67 day, 70-day turnaround on that.
Believe me, I questioned it too. I said, why are we putting this off another month? And then after reading, I see codes and.
Yeah, and Kent worked right alongside us to put everything together. So to be sure we were legally in the right there. No matter what we had, even if we pitched on somebody, even if we said, Scott, we wanted to do this, we still have bids out. I mean, it's just simply too much money not to do.
If you choose somebody, do we have to do a second period if we choose somebody the first time, or do we have to wait those 2 times before you can choose
You have to wait.
the whole time?
Yeah. Yeah. We don't have an option on that, unfortunately.
So
And
they're
nice
gonna-
if you only have to do 36 days and then you can say, okay, we found somebody.
Yeah, no, we won't even get anything until after the second set of 30 days. That's when the bids are due.
Okay,
It just has to be advertised twice in the public.
okay.
With
Thank
that
you.
6 or 7
I've got a letter here from the town of Petersburg to the council, just advising you that the Petersburg Redevelopment Commission invites you to attend the commission meeting Monday, June 7th, 5:30 PM at Petersburg Town Hall. House and Road Act 1242 passed during the 2018 General Assembly requires the Redevelopment Commission to hold an annual meeting, provide certain information for the benefits of the public and other taxing units that overlap allocation areas. We've been identified as one of the overlapping taxing units in the Petersburg First Economic Development Area. So again, that meeting is Monday, June 7th. If anyone wants to attend, it's at 5:30 at the Petersburg Town Hall. That's because of the TIF, right? TIF districts. Okay, anybody else have anything?
Hey, I guess I will say one other thing. Even I had talked to Scott Pryor also before he came here a week or so ago, and got those figures from him on his proposal. I talked to Brandon, I talked to 4 different contractors actually, and 3 of them pointed in one way and one pointed in a separate way. but no matter what, just to give you guys some ballpark figures on that, they were all pretty close. Anywhere from, I'll put it in at 800 to 1.2 for total heating and air, no matter which way you want. If you rebuild boilers, you put VRF, to get heating and air combined, it was in that ballpark.
So you still think you're gonna have to do something with the roof? Also,
Uh,
just not the chimney, but the entire roof.
It's under my impression, the roof's in pretty good shape. The Centric guy was on vacation last week. I had talked to Rick, because I wasn't sure if they had been back out yet to do the core sample. And he was on vacation. The guy I spoke to didn't think they had been, but I'm gonna call him again this week and verify. They were not concerned though about the roof. The leaking, that was coming around from that edge, they fixed. It will have to be maintained from here going out. We kind of know what to look for now, and hopefully we'll get a little maintenance plan put together, so Rick or whoever follows in his footsteps in the years to come can keep up on that.
And see, after we had the roof completed, I don't recall any discussion about them coming in, once a year, any kind of maintenance plans with.
Yeah, I'm not.
Talking about either,
I haven't ever seen anything, and I know that on the elevator, they neglected to do that, but the company made right on that, so that we could have a maintenance plan, something in place, but I'm surprised they didn't do that with the roof.
Okay, anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
I do.
Second? Bill, all those in favor? Hey, thank you, everyone.
By the way, is Tina still out there?
Oh, is Tina on there?
Is Tina on
Did
there?
Tina get on? Tell her we all said hello.
We're out here.
And then we're so stiff getting up.
Was she on there? We don't know, do we?
She was, and she was gonna tell us hello from us.
You know, Kelly,
Same deal, same place, right?
I just have to sign this one place here, right? Right there.
I'll tell you.